Well, good morning, everybody. If you're tuning in from the West Coast of North America, good afternoon from the East Coast, and good evening if you're in England, the UK, Ireland, Europe, the Middle East. And for those of us, or those my friends tuning in from India and the Philippines, a very good late evening to you. I'm here with Alejandro Jaramillo from Etex. Alejandro, thanks very much for taking the time to talk with us today. Real pleasure.
Hello, Harry, Larry. Thanks to having me in the show. It's a great pleasure to me to be here.
Oh well, and for us too. Um, the the thing I'd like to explain to everybody, I guess. Well, before I do though, I did want to ask you what the weather was like in Cartagena right now.
Yeah, I'm not in Cartagena. I'm in Santiago, but I've been talking with the guys there, and it's very hot. So this is a very hot season and very rainy. So, and in here in Chile, yeah, I'm a little bit colder. So I have the both.
Well, when I was in Cartagena, it was 42 degrees Celsius.
Wow.
Um, I can't. I mean, I wore pants the first night, and that was it. I was wearing shorts from there on in. But just to give you a bit of contrast, I was up skiing just a couple of days ago here in Western Canada.
Mhm.
It's just starting to become spring. But again, Alejandro, thanks very much for taking the time to talk with us. Um, I guess when I met you, in Chile during the presentation there to a lot of your folks, I was really impressed. I mean, not just with how receptive the audience was and everything like that, but also just with, if you will, the general uptake from everybody. The enthusiasm. It was all sort of really positive. So I guess I should just sort of start off with a bit of the basics, Alejandro. How long have you been with Etex and how long in health and safety?
Yeah, okay. I'm in Etek since 2000, so 22 years working in Etex, but mainly working in ops. I work on quality and projects and production. I've been a site manager, and for the last 3 years, I've been working on safety. So I came from operations, but since 3 years ago, working mainly in safety.
Well, that's excellent. It's also a bit of a different perspective, having spent 19 years in management, operations management, where you've got to balance everything, not just health and safety. I mean, you've
Mhm.
obviously got to balance quality, you've got to balance production, customer relations, and safety, all of those sorts of things. So what I'm just curious, what prompted you to make the change from operations management into health and safety?
Looking for new perspectives, new ambitions in the job. Working in operations in Etex has been very also very participating in safety. So I like too much working with people, and safety is very related with people. So I saw it as a great opportunity also to work with people in different countries. Now I'm working for with 5 countries in the region: Peru, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil, and Chile. So this all of these things motivate me to change and to come to work in safety. And that it has been very nice working for the last 3 years, and I like it very much.
Oh well, I mean, that's actually a bit. I mean, in terms of a happy story, that was great to hear. I've got some friends, certainly Gary Higby being one of them, who I wrote the first book, Inside Out, with, and he was vice president of operations at John Deere, but there was a tragic fatality at his site, and it was unfortunately that event that prompted him to move from operations management to health and safety. So it's nice to hear that there wasn't a traumatic event or a tragedy that prompted the change. Um, anyhow, could you just you sort of said it already, but I don't know if I got the number. How many sites does Etex have in Latin America, and how many around the world?
Yeah, in Latin America, we have industrial sites, roughly like 13, 14 sites in the 5 countries, and in Etex, we are talking about more than 100. So it's a wide number of different kind of companies, different kind of cultures working together. Huh?
Okay. And just for the folks who don't know, tuning in, Alejandro, could you just give us a quick elevator speech about what Etex does?
Yeah, so Etex is a Belgian company working on 40 countries on the materials or building materials sector. So we produce different kind of products in the range of gypsum or fiber cement or isolation, all related to build this building construction business.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to your corporate headquarters, obviously your location in Chile, and I was at, I think, one of your locations in Bristol, England, where they make drywall. Heard, heard heard a really interesting story about a production error there. If we got time later on, maybe I can tell it. But 107 or something like that sites globally. Um, so, can you tell us when did Etex started getting interested in moving beyond basic compliance, basic legal compliance?
Yeah, so the history is we have to go because Etex is a very old company. So, but in the last 20 years, start to work in some places in terms of safety. In roughly in the 2011, 2012, Etex acquired the business of gypsum boards, of drywall boards of Lafarge. From that moment, Etex was most focused on health because we manage a lot of material dust and that kind of materials. So when Etex acquired Lafarge, start to build a new culture in safety because Lafarge at that moment gypsum was very strong on safety, and we start to work since that moment on building a new culture of safety. And talking about behavior, we start first in Latam, roughly in 2013, 2014, working in this special or working especially with Safestart, much before than Etex did it. So at that moment, we start to see that okay, we have improved a lot in procedures, in machines, all the traditional way, and we start to see that there were a special component or an important component on safety result that is the behavior. So at that point, we start to look for alternatives and how to deal with that, and we started working on Safestart, as I said, first on Latam in 2014 roughly. So and after that, Etex took that and make it a corporate program.
Well, I mean, I'm well aware that Lafarge in North America started with Safestart, certainly in Western North America, very early on. I think probably one of the first 100 or 200 customers that we would have had. So, did was that part of, like, I really don't know, Alejandro. Why did you decide to go on Safestart so many years ago in Latin America?
Yeah, really, I was not there. I was working in operation at that moment, but what I know is we saw that's a very good opportunity to improve high more effectively that we were doing. We have been working for the last years of for every all the time on the traditional safety, but you start to see that the people feels that the safety responsibility just in the company, and we know that we saw that self-care was very important in the process, and you cannot work just in one side, so you have to work in both sides. So at that moment, that was the situation. We were improving a lot in results, but we were in some plateau in that moment, where we don't get more better results, and we decide to look for behavioral programs, or self-care programs at that moment. Yeah.
Did you get the idea from Safestart from Lafarge, or did you find it? You
Oh,
just went out on your own looking.
yeah, I think was for by our own. At that moment, the regional manager, EHS manager, look for that and get this option, and we start to working.
Okay, because I mean, quite often, um, as we all know, just because something is going well in one part of the world doesn't necessarily mean
Mhm.
the other divisions or other areas, if you will, really hear about it all that much. So I was just mostly curious personally, just to, was it sort of a good message from Lafarge that sort of prompted it, or if it was just your own folks going out and looking on their own for something. So
Yeah.
did it come from Lafarge or
Oh,
not? I just wasn't
no,
sure.
no, no, no. It was something that we found here. Lafarge was very hard on the traditional. We received from them the traditional way of safety, but this was for because we look for it, not because we saw it in another places at that moment.
All right. Okay. Well, very, very good then. At least some of our marketing efforts and sales promotion efforts are actually working down there as well too. Okay. Um,
Mhm.
I was going to say, how long did it take for the rest of the company to notice what you folks were doing there in Latin America?
I thought that I think that was very fast that they noticed what we were doing, but it takes time to take it for the group level. So roughly 4 years after we start or we saw it that the Etex took it as a corporate program, but for the first 4 years we were working in our region, training people and doing what we have to do, and probably I think we inspire something in at ethics level, and they started to promote that at group level and worldwide level.
Okay. Okay. Well, I just realized I forgot to introduce Mike Shaw. He's the technical producer behind the scenes with this show. And I also forgot to thank everybody for tuning in on World Safety Day, even though I had it written in great big writing on the top of the sheet here. So happy World Safety Day, or thanks for tuning in, everybody, on World Safety Day. We've got well over 100 folks registered, and I realize you've all probably got a fair number of your own things, your own initiatives that are going on today. So again, thanks very much for taking the time to tune in to both Alejandro and myself, and listening. Um, Alejandro, maybe I could just get Mike to just show briefly some of the results that you had with Safestart in Latin America. Mike, could you show that first sort of graphic, if you would? So, Alejandro, I don't want to obviously steal all of your thunder here, but I use this graph to show folks all over the place that this is what we're looking for. Like 7 years of decreasing injuries, 7 years of decreasing severity. Um, but anything else that you'd like to sort of comment on here in terms of, the site leadership, the workforce, the health and safety committees, any of that sort of stuff, if you would.
Yes, yes, for sure. You cannot say that everything is because behavior have improved. We keep working on improving our procedures, or improving of machine safety. But as you said, safety leadership was also a very important element on this, because Etex started at that moment also a transformation on the Etex way of leadership. So all focus on people, taking care of the people, evolving the people in the decisions, not just top down initiatives, more bottom up initiatives, increasing participation. So at the end, is a result of the sum of everything that of these things. For sure, Safestart have a very important point on that. People are very happy to use Safestart. People receive very well when the company was thinking on them, when the company was taking care of them, not just for the job or the work, but also for the family, for private life. So people receive very well that as a gift, if I can say, and feeling with Safestart that people care for the company. So at that point, when you mix all this together, you will bring these results that we are seeing there.
Well, and I want if I can get Mike to just show that, like, when you talk about the, the family, the 24/7 and the caring. I mean, I think I've seen a lot of different videos and promotional things that have done by different companies over the years. Yeah, hundreds literally of these sorts of things. But if you could, Mike, if you could show the video that they made, I mean, this is, in my opinion, the best, or at least one of the very best that I have ever seen. And I also was just so impressed with how many people were involved in this whole production. So if you can, Mike, let it play.
La seguridad hace parte de ti y de mí. Cuídate y cuida a los demás. Hoy quiero resaltar el bien que me ha hecho en esta empresa trabajar. Hoy quiero destacar esos 4 estados que he aprendido en Safestart. Nunca me he dejado de cuidar por el bien de mi familia y mi seguridad. Nunca me he dejado de cuidar por el bien de mi familia y de mi seguridad. Cada mañana me levanto a trabajar, me voy para la empresa y cuando me veo hay señales que me indican que me debo de esa forma soy consciente de cuidar a los demás. No te detengas, vamos pa'lante, cuida tus pasos, puedes resbalar y en la línea de fuego puedes quedar. Recuerda que tus hijos te van a esperar. No te detengas, vamos pa'lante, sigue tus pasos, puedes resbalar y en la línea de fuego puedes quedar. Recuerda que tus hijos te van a esperar. Mañana me levanto a trabajar, me voy para la empresa y cuando me veo llegar hay señales que me indican que me debo de cuidar. De esa forma soy consciente de dar a los demás. La gente que manda, Harold, ABC, las Jessicas, logística para ti, y Pipla perdió la vida en 2x3 y él no sabía lo que iba a hacer. Tú no sabes, no sabes, no sabes, no sabes de eso. No te sometas, compadre, compadre, eso es un alimento. No te sometas, compadre, compadre, eso es un alimento. Perdió la vida en un 2x3 y él no sabía lo que iba a hacer. Si tú no sabes, no sabes, no sabes, no sabes de eso. No te sometas, compadre, compadre, eso es un alimento. No te sometas, compadre, compadre, eso es un alimento. Ay, bendito Dios, cómo duele. Bendito Dios, cómo duele.
¿Me asusté?
Bueno, tienes pesadilla.
Wow. I mean, it just seemed like almost everybody got involved in the production of that. That was just phenomenal. The first time I saw it, I was like, wow. How long ago did they make that, Alejandro?
Yeah, it took the most important thing that I can say is that was their initiatives. This is the supply chain team in the plant, in the Cartagena plant, and they took it as his initiative. So yeah, the company just gave us some help for the production at that time, and we took they took the talent of two or three guys that composed the music. And champeta is a very popular rhythm in Cartagena. It's very traditional, so it's the rhythm that they use. And it takes,
The old city, right? That was part of the old city
yeah,
there. Yeah, yeah, I recognized it.
yeah, so they took it, they did it by themselves. I was out from the plant because I worked there for 11 years, and then I came here to Chile. And and that moment they start to do this, and was magnificent. I have watched the video 100 times, and all the time I liked it as the first time. So, and if you see, they took the very well the concept of Safestart, very applied very well on the song, and have been very good. I'm very happy to see it here because they did it very well done, very good job. Huh?
Now, was that original music, or was that just another song and they changed the words?
No. They compose everything. Huh? They just take the rhythm of champeta, that is the rhythm, and they compose everything, music, lyrics, everything.
That's actually an original song.
Yes, an original song. Yeah.
Because it's really good. I mean, I'm now even more impressed that they didn't say, well, wait a minute, maybe we should like try to see if we can get this on the radio or get a record. I mean, I'm just even more impressed. I thought they'd just taken a song and just changed the words. That is even more, I don't know, remarkable. I guess would be.
Yes. The two guys that are the singers are they has like do it as a hobby. They do it for different occasions, and they used to practice and then have these things that. But as you said, it's an original song, and with the participation, as I said, of the whole area of supply chain in the plant at that moment.
Wow. Now, in addition to just the safety numbers that we showed everybody, the 7 years decreasing injuries, 7 years decreasing severity, were there other improvements you've noticed as well too in terms of like quality improvements, reductions in unscheduled downtime, or if you will, improvements in production efficiency, customer relations, things like that? Because obviously, when you learn the critical error reduction techniques, they're not just limited to line of fire and balanced traction grip. They start applying in all of the situations where rushing, frustration, fatigue, and complacency can get the better of you.
Yeah, I can say that it was not conscient, the impact. For the last years, we start to talk about that and say, okay, it's not just safety. If you improve safety, you can improve many things: quality, productivity. So at the end, you're mixing up all these things with a very strong behavior, or sorry, leadership. Um, Working, and a lot of this is improving everything. So you can say, you can see all these plants has very good results on productivity, on quality, on many things. But just for the last years, we are taking account that is conscient that these kind of things can help. It's not, I cannot say that for the first time we saw it.
Well, no, but when I was I was going to say, if I could tell this story, when I was at the Bristol operation, the plant manager, we were talking about, improvements in quality, production, customer relations, and we were piloting the Safestart performance, which had just been released. And he said, Larry, he said, I don't know if we could film this, he said, but before Safestart got here, he said, I've got a performance story for you that would be it would be just classic if we could film it. He said, I don't know about how we'd actually do that, the Hollywood part, he said, but you see this line here, and he's showing me basically it's a huge long conveyor belt where all the drywall is coming out, and it's there's various stages to it, but the last part is where the top sheet gets put on and it sort of gets pressed and dried as it going through. And he said there was 5 people looking after this line, but when everything is running well, you don't actually need anybody there. And
Mhm.
one guy got a phone call, so he went away to answer the phone call. Somebody else needed to go to the restroom, so he took off to go to the restroom. The supervisor got another phone call, and he had to go take this phone call in one of the boardrooms. And he said, I don't really know what happened to the other 2 people and why they left, but somehow that top sheet wasn't getting put on, which meant it was impossible for this thing to start drying. And he said we made about the equivalent of 1.5 kilometers of wet drywall that all just piled up at the end.
Mm.
And of course, when he finds out about it, he comes out and he goes, but there's 5 people on this line. I mean, why didn't somebody hit the stop button? And they're all like, see, that's just it. We weren't here. Anyhow, he said, since then, we've all started taking complacency a bit more seriously. But I thought, oh my goodness, I mean, if we could do if we could do the video right, you just kind of see one guy go and then another guy go and then another, and then finally the last guy goes, and then you see the top sheet not going on. I think it would be just classic in terms of a performance story there. But anyhow, so you started notice some improvements in some other areas as well. Okay. What about some of the other affiliates that you've got out there, Alejandro, in terms of, like, I know there's Gypsum Brazil and a few other affiliates. So how are they all doing?
No, very good. We have reached, in this case of Gypsum Brazil, for example, more than 5 years without LTAs. And so they reach a very good level on terms of on safety and results, I mean. And it's very related also with the performance of the plants, because we have a very good plants there. So in some places, we are also seeing something different that you are seeing, that we still have some slip, trip, that kind of accidents. Fortunately, not so severe in most of the cases. But there is something also that I used to set the people in safety. When you have good results, it doesn't mean that everything is going well. But when you have something also, it doesn't mean that you are wrong or you are bad, because in that parts where you see more active participation in safety, more leadership, more safety use, we're still having accidents. As I said, not so severe, but I said that also is related because the people are aware of the safety and used to talk more about things. Is they used to not hide what happened. If they have something in their finger, they go to the safety guy and say, hey, I have it this because I was doing this. So this is also some kind of contradictory results when you saw that, because you say, oh, okay, but they are having accidents, but they are working too much. But somehow the positive wave of safe start to share, to take to tell safe start stories is also opening to the people to talk, to set, to participate and say, okay, I made a mistake or I have an accident. Probably sometime in some previous moment they just see it as a normal, that you can have something in your hand, a small cut or something, and they don't say anything and continue working. So this is what I'm seeing in the region in Etex right now.
Well, that Alejandro, that is a really, really interesting point. If you don't mind, let me just go a little bit further with you. That when you don't have a positive safety culture or a negative safety culture, it it leads to people trying to cover up injuries, a great reluctance for people to be willing to report near misses. Um,
Mhm.
because obviously they're fearing blame, they're fearing discipline, or getting in trouble. In other words, there's too much negativity in the culture. So one of the things that you brought up here that I think is really key for people, especially in health and safety, to recognize is that as your culture starts to move from negative to positive,
Mhm.
you will likely start to see more reporting.
Yep.
People are now feeling comfortable about going and saying, "Yeah, I pinched my finger and it really hurts. Do you have any Tylenol?" And
Yeah.
if they get, I mean, if you get Tylenol, if you get a prescription for Tylenol, that can
Mhm.
count as a recordable injury, right?
Yep.
You
Yeah.
know, I don't know this cut, maybe it needs a stitch, maybe it needs two stitches, but I could also just put a band-aid on it myself and not report it. And that way I wouldn't be a recordable injury and face all of this negative pressure. So the let me just ask, did you also see, as you started to see some of those minor injuries being reported,
Yep.
did you also start to see an increase in near miss reporting from your workforce?
Yeah, yeah. Also because it's not just Safestart, and also the traditional way we are working with leading KPIs, and one of the leading KPIs where we have some targets to the people is near miss reporting. So we are promoting the people to talk, to report, or a behavior or a situation that can lead in an accident. So in the last 5 years, we have been increasing the near miss reporting and that kind of things. And it's very visible for us. And also we work on how we solve these issues. Also, we track the corrective actions closing, and we include also some other elements that we call it safety engagement actions, where, for example, telling a Safestart story is one safety engagement action. So at the end, we are talking about something that we call safety intensity. That are all the leading KPIs: safety conversation, NIASMI reporting, and safety engagement action, and so as part of the management system. And we are tracking, promoting, and linking all this with Safestart to promote the people to talk. So it's increasing, and you can go to the plant that you can say that are fairly new and 1 year old, with all this best in class equipments, but they go to the details, and they are doing some kind of refine safety because they start to see many small things. And you don't have any finish for that, because always you're opening your eyes and seeing. First you first said or saw the big things, and then you start to see very small things. So this is the path that we have followed.
Well, I mean, I can almost sort of see you struggling. You probably wanted to use the expression in Spanish, and you may not, the English one, like you were trying to say, is there is no finish line really when it comes to this, right? Like it's always an ongoing journey, and quite frankly, if you do stop pushing, if you do stop making that forward progress, I had it put to me probably best in India. They said, Larry, health and safety is like pushing an elephant up a hill. And I got it instantly, because like what happens if you stop pushing is the elephant is going to roll right back over you, right? So you don't ever really get to sort of sit back and say, we're done. Although I've seen many production managers sort of do this. If they get their injuries down to zero or to just about zero, you can almost see them going, okay, now that we've got that covered, let's get back to work. And of course, in a couple of years, things are back to the way they were before. They didn't keep that nice downward trend that you guys have been able to show there. So I think that's important, that you always try to get that across to all of your folks as well too. Now, could you just kind of go over one more time just for the folks listening? And I know, believe it or not, Alejandro, there's folks actually making notes on all of this while we're talking. So all of those proactive activities you talked about, there was telling a safe start story, there was near miss, but there was also, I think, conversations that were happening with the supervisors or managers and the employees. But give us, if you can, just that list again of all the proactive indicators or leading indicators that you folks are measuring.
Yeah, we are measuring near miss and safety or unsafe condition and unsafe behaviors. We call it near miss. We record safety engagement action, for example, is more related to the people that they are not used to working safety. If I can say that, telling a safe start story, sharing some knowledge about something in safety, participating in a safety tour, participating in an audit, that kind of things that are not part of your daily job are recorded, and we call it safety engagement actions. For sure, we also track training hours. So in safety, especially, we have set targets on hours per person per year in safety, and also we track what we call corrective action closing. So all of these actions coming from the reporting, for the near miss, for the accidents, everything. So we track the percentage of closing, and now we are also including some participation rate KPI, because at the beginning you start to see that some people are participating in reporting. So you see that in a plant of 100, just 10 or 12 people are reporting safety conversations or near miss or whatever, and now we are tracking how many of these 100 are including some action activity of these leading actions in our reports. So, and I can say for the region, for example, the best in class, we can say 60% of the people in a plant of 150 are doing at least one of these activities a month. So
A month?
a month, yeah.
I thought you were going to say a year. So
No, a month.
60% of the people participating in some kind of safety activity engagement
Yep.
per month. That's Alejandro, that is phenomenal. I mean, the other one you mentioned that I think is just worth pointing out, because I've heard it before, different expert panels I was doing in the Middle East, for instance, was the closeout, like the closeout items, so that you're actually tracking, okay, how long does it take from when something gets reported or identified to where we've got it, closed out, fixed up, repaired, whatever the case may be. Have you noticed that length of time is getting shorter or improving as well?
Yeah, because roughly we saw the 12 months average of closing. So in that closure, we said that more than 85% of the actions are closed in the 12 months. So this data, I don't have it in my mind, but for sure, if I track it, I can see that could be improved in the last years. But I don't have in mind that right now.
Well, that's okay, Alejandro. I mean, I just wanted to point it out as it's a leading indicator or a great KPI for health and safety, and I just wanted to sort of mention that again to the folks listening. But if I can, I'd really like to come back to what I think is probably the most important KPI, and very few companies that I know of are actively measuring it, which is that active engagement per person per month. I mean, I I know I said it already, but I thought for sure you were going to say per year, and I would have been impressed at 60% per year. I would have been very impressed at 60%
Yeah,
per year.
this is something that we are working in, and this is the basic class for our region right now. For sure, we have different maturity, but we have reached that, and you can feel it when you go a plant like that, because in that plants you are seeing that the people are taking care of small things, because they have solved the big ones, and they are now looking for small things.
Well, I really wish I had when I was in Nigeria a few weeks ago at your Nigerite plant. I
Uh-huh.
really wish I had have asked Denise Simonin. He's the managing director there. I mean, I know that they've gone 2 years without a lost time accident there. Almost 500 people, but
Mhm.
way more than that if you count the permanent contractors. And I saw lots of really good evidence there of not just like positive people. I mean, some of the folks just seeing me in the parking lot ran up and wanted a selfie with me because they recognized it. It took them a second to kind of recognize who I was, and then they were like running up and asking, for a selfie. They had great posters that they'd done themselves all over the place, and obviously a few big signs as you're coming in. There was a video for all the contractors to watch, but I never thought of asking him about active participation. I really wish I had known about that when I was there, because when I saw the video, I was so impressed with how many people got involved. But to now hear that, you're actually getting 60% of the people to participate, think about safety at least once a month, and that it's going to be more than that.
Yeah.
If that's just what you're tracking, I think that is really quite spectacular or phenomenal. I mean, one of the things that really impressed me at the Nigerite site was when I walked out into the parking lot, I realized that every car was backed in.
Yeah,
And Mike, you're showing. Oh, well, thanks, Mike. Okay, yeah, few pictures there. I was going, oh my God, the screen went black. Now what? Um, and it's the same shirt I'm wearing. It just looks like it's two-tone there, but that's just sweat, everybody. It's a bit like Cartagena when you're in Nigeria or Lagos.
yeah.
It's never going to be cold, I can assure you that, especially if you're a Canadian. You're going to be that is an old. I don't know if we got any Canadians watching there, but Mike, if you want to go back one picture, yeah, I was a boy when Massey Ferguson quit making tractors in Canada. Um, and so I had Mike take that picture of me. I have no idea where they get parts for that thing, but it looks like it looked like it was still running. Anyhow, Alejandro, obviously, I guess to say something like congratulations seems just a bit weak, quite frankly, in terms of just like, it's not just the results. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to know, like, hey, bottom line, did you
Mm,
get the results? Yeah, we got the results. 7 years, decreasing injuries, decreasing severity. We've got plants that are at zero lost time. We've got some affiliates like Brazil Gypsum that have gone 2 years, no lost time. So, all of that is great. But to see what goes on behind that, the culture, the positivity, the level of engagement. Like I said, I still can't believe that those people donated an original song, a good song, really, to Safestart. That's just so good. But just before we start taking some questions from the audience, Alejandro, um, any any advice? I don't want to go so far as to say words of wisdom or anything, but any advice that you might give to folks in Latin America or Africa, India, Indonesia, the Philippines, anything like that in terms of taking on one of these initiatives?
mhm. Yeah, for sure. Every time you are thinking to new things, you said, "Okay, Mo, my culture is different. We are different." I've been working in 5 countries. Every time I go there, they say, "No, here the things are different because the culture is different." This is true, huh? You cannot deny that. But the point is that for sure you have different cultures and that are more open to this kind of initiatives like Safestart. And I think the Latin American culture, more countries than others, but mostly all the country, are very open of this kind of initiative. When you take care of the people, you show that this genuine, truly commitment with the people, and you offer this kind of programs. They saw it, they received it as a gift. And in some countries, probably in Europe, in the US, it's very difficult because the people are more close, they are more reluctant to apply these things. But I can say you cannot wait for, if you are belonging a company of global level coming from US, for Canada, for Europe, don't wait to start with this, because for us, I think in Latin America is easier to improve these things. So you can go faster on that. The people will receive it very well, and with the time, as happened in Etex, these plans, Europe people are taking this and they are opening right now, and you can say that now we are going in the same path and we are having this kind of thing. So don't wait, start. People will appreciate very much this. They will see it as a gift that the company is giving them, and they will feel that the company take cares of them. So for me, this is the main point on this. For sure, you have to continue working in traditional safety, but you can start to link this to Safestart. For example, not promoting rushing, not promoting fatigue, taking care of the people in the time that they are working, improving their tools, improving the equipments. Will promote that you won't go to rush, or you won't go to frustration. So if you understand this, that Safestart is thinking on that, and we are human beings. Everybody, all the world, we are the same, and we feel the same. So when you link these two things, you can start to go faster and getting results with the time.
That's really, thank you so much. That's very interesting, though. Well, there's so many things I don't know what to follow up on. I got to say, you're a great guest to have on the show, because you almost answered the next question without me even needing to ask it. So I'm like, okay. But I think there is, for a lot of folks, certainly in Latin America, Mexico, and maybe in India, Indonesia, and the Philippines. I think I think it was great they got to hear that from you, because I think there is, for those folks, a bit of reluctance to go first. In other words, they think, well, we want to do this, but they're not doing it in Europe, or they're not doing it in North America. So, maybe we shouldn't spend the money, or we shouldn't take the time until, they do it, or they do it first. But I know for sure, traveling around, that, things, people sometimes think things are better in the United States and Canada and Europe than they are. It's not it's not always easy to implement, behavioral initiatives or human error initiatives, when every night on TV people see commercials from injury lawyers saying, if you've been hurt, call me and we'll sue them. So people start to think that, it's, they don't have to take personal responsibility for themselves, or even for their families. And I'm just, I've always been sort of dumbfounded with this, going, really, you're going to tell your kids, like, you don't need to be responsible for your own safety because there's somebody to sue? I mean, what if your child is dead? Then, does it really matter? I don't want to get too negative or too serious about this, but bottom line is, you're the one who's hurt.
Yeah.
and all the money in the world sometimes can't make that better.
Mm.
So I do think, I mean, I'm not trying to say things aren't, like everything's bad in North America or Europe. That's not the case either. But I do think sometimes people think it's a little bit better. It's a little bit better than it is. I can assure you that if I go back to Gary Higby again, the two of us at the beginning, we had some implementations, and those were not a walk in the park. Let me tell you, those were some very, very difficult people that we had to come around. So just before we take, I know we're running out of time, Alejandro, and I talk to you forever here, but what about the negative folks or the naysayers as you start off on one of these processes? There's always going to be people who've got a reason for why this isn't a good time to start or why this isn't the right initiative for our culture, like you said. How did you handle those people, and how did you win them over?
Yeah, I think it's some kind of perseverance. So working and working and telling and talking and exchanging, giving them the opportunity to talk to resolve the doubts. But in general terms, in Latam, we don't have this kind of too much of this kind of people. I cannot generalize, but mostly because they saw that this is something that is a good intention from the companies. A gift, as I said, are open. But when you have this kind of people, you just given the opportunity to express, to talk, to see, and then they with the time, it's just a matter of time. They will be taking the elements, and it will take time, but not forever. They won't be there forever. So I
Okay.
I think it's something like that. You can see in different places, as I said, in Europe, if it was more difficult to implement this. In that point, for sure, leadership in the companies is very important. So when you saw it, the CEO of the company talking about this, feeling the Safestart spirit, also putting in the targets, putting in the objectives, people at the end will align. So it's just a matter of time, and in that point, for sure, leadership is very important.
So just basically keep pushing the elephant is what you're saying, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, one I know Mike's probably sitting in the background. One last question, Larry. You're running out of time. We won't have from the audience, but there's one thing though that I do want you to comment on for your, if you will, fellow health and safety practitioners in places like Latin America, India, Asia, and the Philippines, Indonesia, Alejandro, and that is when the outside safety culture is visibly not very concerned. I mean, no helmets on motorcycles. I mean, I've been in traffic in Cartagena. I've been in traffic in Lima, Peru. I've
Yep.
been stuck in traffic in Mexico City, Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro. Santiago actually wasn't too bad, as I recall, comparatively. But I mean, I remember being in Lima where there were three painted lines on the road, and there were at least 5 lanes of traffic. I mean, how how do you get across to the people the importance of safety when in the outside world they don't see very much of it, or they don't see what looks like, you
Mhm.
know, like proper scaffolding on the side of buildings, fall arrest harnesses on people riding in the back of trucks going 100 kilometers an hour, obviously not wearing a seatbelt. When there's all that kind of stuff going on in the outside environment, how do you reach the people inside your company and get them to realize that safety is a choice and that they need to be responsible for their own safety and also for their family safety? How did you bridge that gap?
It has been harder to work with this kind of environment, is for sure, because people have been 30 years in that environment where safety is not important. Is part Getting hurt in the job is part of the life, so it's not problem. But when they came and this and you back up this all this process with this strong leadership, with all the resources, with all the rules, if you can say, also as a backup in when you truly take care of the people, and they start to see that the environment that you have in the company is better than they have in their normal life. They are starting to bring this to their homes, to the street, to the motorcycle. It's not easy. It's sometimes it's very difficult because you cannot fight with this big monster outside, but you start to see that people are using this in the company, that the company give them to bring them to the home, and they start to see that it's safer to be in the company than in outside. It happens to us during the COVID times, that in this kind of countries, like Peru, you said, people feel safer working in the company than going to the street. So at that point, we were discussing, okay, are we going to shut down the plants because this, and keep the people at home? But some people said, oh, hey, we feel safer in the company because all of this environment, culture, resources, everything is much better than outside. So this is something that really is not is complicating your life for a while, but when you start to moving and you have it, then you will going back with all this to the families and to the people life.
Yeah, I think you said it really well. I mean, the only thing I could maybe add a comment to is that they do need to see it from leadership, though. This is one of the places where you've got to step up. I remember about the second cab I was getting into in India, and I looked at Saravana Kumar and I said, "There are no seat belts in the back seat here." And he said, "It's okay, laddie. You don't need to wear seatbelts in the back seat." I said, "No, it's not okay." And I said, "We're getting another cab." And he's looking at his watch because he's like worried that we're going to be late. And I said, "Doesn't matter." I said, "Get another cab."
Mhm.
And so he got another cab. And, you can kind of hear him arguing with the person, going, "No, no, no." And he says, "Well, send one." And then he comes back to me and he said, "Okay, but it's going to be more expensive. It's a bigger." I said, "It doesn't matter." I said, "We're not driving without seatbelts."
Mhm.
I didn't want to add that, especially in this country, okay, where it's crazy. I
Yeah.
said, if there was ever a place you wanted a seatbelt, I would suggest Mumbai or New Delhi is where you want a seatbelt. I
Mhm.
mean, I can't think of a better place to be wearing one, except maybe New York City. But, but I mean, I think it does have to come a bit from leadership as well too. They have to actually see that it's not okay. Like, in this case, I don't want you to save a few dollars just so we get a cheap cab that doesn't have seatbelts in the back seat.
Yeah, some red lines from leadership is very important on this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good, I mean, oh gosh, I know we're at 10 o'clock. I know we're at the hour already, but I want to ask you about the red lines. How can you give us just a couple of comments for the leaders about some of the red lines? In other words, you do have to obviously be firm about a few things, right? I know you guys have life-saving rules, golden rules, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really difficult. I cannot say that everything is perfect. Machine discipline and this safeguard is sometimes is making some discussions, but there are some things that for sure are important. It's not the same not wearing sunglasses inside the plant, but not wearing a harness in a scaffold. So you have to take care about these kind of things. For sure, everything you can work on in that, but the most important thing is not promoting the negative way again, coming back to the discipline with the right lines, because if you start to say you cannot break the rules, and so you cannot share a safety story because you don't wear the safety belt in your car, because you have to be punished because of that. No, but you have to take care about that and start to say there are things that are more serious than others. And also, if you share it and if you admit it, it's different that you go there and the people are hiding this kind of behavior. So you can mix these two things, and at the end apply what you need to apply to improve. Huh?
Excellent, excellent. But I mean, you've got to also show them that you do it too. I think that's also that's also really important.
Yeah.
Mike, I don't know if we've got any questions from the audience that I should really try to get to Alejandro. I've got one more burning one though. But we've got one up here, Alejandro. So let me ask it easily enough. How would you describe the safety mindset at Etex now compared to what it was before? And Thomas, thanks very much. He's tuned in and he's also been on the show before. So thanks for the question, Thomas.
So if I can say that this is today we saw it as a value, and then before we saw it as an obligation, as a number. We are going this process, and now we said this is not also a priority. It's a value that we have to have with a good production, with good quality. You have to, and also I can say that we are seeing more as more participative safety, if I can say it, but not
Yes.
in a way.
Right. I mean, I wrote that down just so I wouldn't forget. A value versus an obligation. I mean, especially for someone where this is second language, that was brilliant. That was brilliant, brilliant wording. Probably going to be title of another keynote presentation I'll be doing around the world. coming up there. Because I could see it really tying in with the one that I do on influence versus control. I don't know if there are any other questions, Mike, but one I did want to ask you, Alejandro, before we get off, before we say goodbye or get off the show. Contractors. There's permanent contractors at most companies, and then there are what I could call transient contractors or very short-term contractors. Tell me what you've done in terms of including the contractors.
Okay, for the permanent contractors, we treat it as a Etex employee. So they have received everything the same that an employee from Etek received. For example, all the training, all Safestart, we gave them the 5 modules, the training. We involved them in reporting. We involved them in everything. It's not much difference. Also, we included them in the numbers, in the result numbers.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
So in that number is included permanent contractors. And also for transient or not permanent, we have different approach because these guys came to the plant one day, 1 week, 1 month, and then left. So we base mostly in supervision for sure, but also we gave them the main concept of Safestart every time that they came to the plant. So they will have some kind of training on that. And also we start to see that, for example, some tools like the rate your state could be a good tool to work with them, just to make them, to put them in the conversation about rushing, about the errors, about the technical reduction mistake techniques. So it's something that could help us, but it's mainly based on the traditional for sure, and plus supervision, but also we include this kind of small tools to start to work with them.
Yeah, for those of you listening, thank you, Tom. I mean, for those of you listening, the rate your state is very simply where you would go up to, if you will, a transient contractor and just say, hey, show them the card or the mobile app on the phone and just say, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much rushing, frustration, fatigue, and complacency have you had to deal with so far today? Not your whole life, just so far today. And get that person to think about how rushed they are, how frustrated they might have been or are right now, how tired they are. And the thing that I think is probably the most beneficial is that since you can't feel complacency in the moment, when somebody asks you, how complacent have you become? Or how complacent are you? When was the last time you even thought about getting hurt on this job? People definitely have to think about it. And, you go to the hospital, they ask you to rate your pain on a scale of 1 to 10. So it's an easy thing for anybody to participate in without a lot of training. So I recommend that, you know, as many places as I can, especially for the transient contractors. But with the permanent contractors, was there a cost sharing, Alejandro, with the contracting you know, those companies owners, or did you guys just?
Normally, we take the cost of that. In some cases, probably we have different approach, but mostly we take care about that.
Okay, well, I remember a gentleman, health and safety professional, in an oil company, once saying, "Larry, if we don't pay for it up front, we'll pay for it. Don't worry, they'll figure out a way to charge us for it." He said.
True,
But,
it's very true. Really, really true.
but I
So,
do think though that the spirit, if I don't know if that's the right word, but to offer to pay for it up front, as opposed to realizing that one way or another you're going to have to pay for it because they've got to make a certain amount of money too, right? Obviously, to stay in business. But to offer to pay for it up front, I really think, first of all, will reduce the time length it takes for them to make the decision, because they're not going to have to, you know, they won't get a decision now, they're going to do it. But I think it also really shows that you care, that Etex cares. And
yeah.
I did not know that they were included in those numbers and those graphs. That is even more remarkable or phenomenal. Anyhow, Mike, any other questions from the audience that we should try to get to? I know we're past the hour here.
That's it. That's all. Awesome show, you guys. Thank you very much.
Yes, well, I mean, we are 10 minutes past, Alejandro. Although, like I said, I really enjoyed talking with you, and I could probably do it for another hour and not necessarily be going over the same stuff. But thank you very much for taking the time to talk with us today, and also for sharing how you got there. You know, the whole journey. Really appreciate it. It's going to be a little more than a month, everybody. June the 9th, I'll be back with Tim Page Buttarf. Now, Tim is, I've known Tim now going on 20 years. The topic is humor in safety. Tim is, Safety Professional of the Year, American Society of Safety Professionals, Distinguished Service of Safety Award from the National Safety Council. You know, he's obviously done a number of things right or very well, but he brings humor and life and laughter into every training session that he does. And I can remember, you know, at the beginning of my career, some old timers going, "There's nothing funny about people getting hurt, Larry." And I'm like, yeah, but they don't learn anything when they're sound asleep either, right? So I think there's obviously a balance there, but hopefully you can all tune in. June the 9th, it's the same time, 1 o'clock Eastern in the United States. I believe that will be like 6 o'clock in the UK. 6 o'clock in the UK, 7 o'clock in Europe, etc. But please tune in, because it'll be a great show with lots of laughs. And again, Alejandro, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today and telling us about how you how you captured everybody's hearts and minds. I think that's sort of what every safety professional is really trying to achieve. And yes, the numbers are important, but I think it starts with capturing their hearts and minds. And when I looked at that video for the first time, the idea of trying to have you on the show was like, you know, we've got to be able to, like, because that is just probably the best example I have ever seen of being able to capture everybody's hearts and minds. And 60% participation or engagement per person per month, that's phenomenal. So again, Alejandro, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Larry.
To be with us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. See you soon. Okay, bye everybody.
Bye-bye.